Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the John DeVito Show. Now, today's show, I'm going to be starting off with a story out of my neighboring state, Connecticut. And I have to give Connecticut some love. Connecticut is absolutely dominating my download numbers right now. So, Massachusetts, the state I live in, is in second place in the number of downloads, but Connecticut is off the chart in the number of downloads that I'm receiving for my show. So, I'm shouting out a little bit of love to my listeners in Connecticut. Thank you so much for listening to my show. And I'm going to start off today's show with a little story about something that is happening in Connecticut. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with this. Now, this story goes back a little bit till January 25th. I just happened to see this today. So I'm sorry if I'm a little bit behind the times here. But have you heard the story about what's happening in Brookfield, Connecticut, at Brookfield High School? Now, I'm going to read this story and then we're going to talk about this a little bit. And this is the world we are living in right now where we are trying to normalize things that are just not appropriate. So let me read this story and then we're going to talk about it. So, I am going to leave the principal's name out of this out of respect for him, but the Brookfield High School principal is promising consequences for the person or persons who ripped a box distributing menstrual products off the wall in one of the school's bathrooms. Now, when you hear that story, it makes sense. I mean, someone destroyed a product that was in one of the bathrooms. One would assume that this dispensing machine was in one of the girls' bathrooms, since girls, women, are the only ones in society that can menstruate. They're the only ones in society that can have babies, despite what the far left fringe wants us to believe. So, further on in the article, in an email sent to students on Wednesday and obtained by Inside Investigator, Belinda states that the dispenser, which was installed in the boys' bathroom by the main office, was put there following state law. So apparently, this is a Connecticut state law. A bill passed in the 2022 legislative session requires public school Board of Education to provide free menstrual products to students in all girls' restrooms, in any all gender restrooms, and at least in one boys' restroom. According to the Connecticut Department of Public Health, the intention of the law is to address period poverty, meaning the struggle to purchase period products due to the lack of income. In the email, the principal says that this dispenser in the boys' bathroom was installed at 9:30 Wednesday morning, and by 9:52 a.m., tampons were on the floor, and the newly installed distribution box was ripped off the wall along with masonry anchors, and the distribution box was itself destroyed. According to state law, we will reinstall this box in the boys' bathroom, it goes on to say. The principal also informed all students that the school has a list of suspects and believes they know who the perpetrators may be. That's typical, hoping to get someone to come forward. I'd go down with the ship on that one. I wouldn't admit to anything. But he calls the incident the most egregious instance of vandalism and destruction of property in recent weeks. So how many destructions of property do they have? I mean, I thought he was going to say in the history of the school in recent weeks. I mean, what else is going on in this school where they're destroying everything in the school? Okay, so saying that the other forms of vandalism, including broken stall doors, soap dispensers being ripped off the wall, and various items stuffed into toilets, also tend to happen only in the boys' bathrooms. It needs to stop, he says. If you don't understand something, do not resort to vandalism. Ask for more information, he concludes. Use your words to start a dialogue rather than using your hands to destroy something. So there we go. Now, actually, I'm going to go down in this article. I'm reading this article from a website called the Inside Investigator, and the title of it is Brookfield High School Principal Consequences for Menstrual Product Vandals in the Boys' Bathroom. So I'm going to go and read a few of the comments down below. There's only three of them, and I'm not going to mention people's names in these comments. You can log on and look if you want, but there are three comments. So the first one is from a gentleman on February 1st, which was yesterday. What adult speaks like this? If you have to make every exception the rule, at least deal with these things in concrete terms. The principal's cheap shot about men v. boys is uncalled for. Find the kids, admonish, discipline, and move on. Next comment is LOL. That's because men don't get periods. Therefore, they don't need menstrual products in their restroom. Shockingly, I have to explain this to people as if they're 4-year-olds. And then the last comment is from a woman. Trisha, your article was a breath of fresh air. I truly appreciate reading an unbiased article. All right, so there you have it. So, what are your feelings on this, everybody? I am a person that hears stories like this all the time. I know that we all hear stories like this all the time. And you wonder why organizations, schools, governments, etc., can't understand why young people are struggling right now. They can't understand why young people are frustrated and angry right now. The bottom line is there are two genders in this world. There are male and there are female. Men are good for a lot of things. Men are strong, they're big, they have a lot of positive attributes. But one thing genetic men cannot do is have periods, and another thing they cannot do is they cannot have babies. That is the bottom line. There are two genders, male and female. That is all there is to it. And in the history of this world, there has never been a man, a biological man, that has given birth to a baby. And that's one thing that is absolutely amazing about women. I mean, honestly, I think about the things that women have to go through in a monthly basis with their monthly period, um, the the 9 months of just emotional and physical hell being pregnant puts on a woman's body, and the actual idea of squeezing a human being out of your body is something that just absolutely horrifies me. So, women, hats off to you. You deserve all the credit in the world. You are amazing. Amazing. Women are just unbelievably strong, intelligent. Thank God that we have them. And I don't want this to come across that I'm some misogynistic man. I am not. I love women. I respect women. I honestly believe women are the stronger sex out of the two. And thank God we have them. I mean, I am so fortunate to have a wife that's strong. And I had a mother that was strong, a mother in law that was strong, a sister that's strong, a daughter that's strong, grandmothers that were strong. I've been so fortunate. And when I see stories like this, and you really can't blame this principal of the school, the principal is just following the law. So I know this school and this principal, they're probably taking heat for this decision at the school, but it really isn't something that the principal has control over. He is following the law. He is doing what the state of Connecticut has told him to do. And honestly, when you think about the boys, now I don't condone vandalism. I have kids myself. I have boys. And honestly, if my son came home and was caught doing something like this, I honestly would understand the sentiment behind it. But I don't agree with the destruction of property within the school building. Now, that being said, what do people expect when the woke left continues to push these extreme views on all of us? People have had it. People have had enough. People don't want any more of this wokeism being pushed at us. And now I'm not saying that all people that are transitioning, all people that have different views on sexuality that heterosexual people do are mentally ill. But I do think that we have a problem with mental illness in this world where there are a lot of people that are very confused as to what they should be because a lot of this wokeness has been pushed on them since they were children. And this type of thing should not happen ever, ever. And I'm sorry if they're being politically correct or if they believe, maybe there are women, young girls that are transitioning into being boys and they're using the boys' bathroom and they need feminine products. But the bottom line is, I'm sorry. If you are a young girl and maybe you're transitioning to being a boy and you are still having periods, then you need to be using the appropriate bathroom. And for me, thinking about if I have a daughter in a school and there's a boy that's transitioning into being a girl, I don't want this boy, if he is still a boy, I don't want this boy sharing the bathroom with my daughter. So again, I guess if we have children that are transitioning, because we're dealing with so many children that are just confused right now, maybe we need to have a bathroom that is just for the people that are transitioning, so they can go in there, have their privacy. Because honestly, when I think of these children, this also breaks my heart. It makes me sad that we have so many children that are growing up and feeling so out of place. So that doesn't get lost on me because I love kids, and I can't imagine how difficult it must be to be confused about your sexuality and how difficult that must be for the child. But to force boys to have a tampon machine in the bathroom to me is completely inappropriate, and it's pushing something on the population that really has no right to be there. So for the people of Connecticut, I'm doing this story for all of you. I see the downloads. I appreciate you. And because I have so many listeners in Connecticut, I'm going to continue to look into some Connecticut stories and talk a little bit more about some of the things that you're facing in my neighbor to the south. Now, I love Connecticut. Connecticut's a great state. I traveled into Connecticut quite a bit. You have obviously the 95 corridor where you've got some big cities. And I'll tell you though, Connecticut is one of the worst states to drive through, especially when you're coming from Massachusetts. If I have meetings or anything for work, oh my God, it can be a brutal drive because I literally leave from central Massachusetts. So I have to first fight the Hartford traffic. Then you have the New Haven traffic. Then you have the Bridgeport traffic. And then you have the Stamford, Connecticut traffic and the New York City traffic. So driving through Connecticut in that capacity can be such a bear. But Connecticut has so many beautiful small towns. Connecticut is a beautiful state. I love the time I spend there. And actually, some of the most fun times I've actually spent in Connecticut have been down on the shore. When my boys were younger, they played travel baseball, and we would go down to the Warwick Shore down in the areas of like New London, Connecticut. We would go and stay like near the casinos in Connecticut. And that, I'll tell you, that little area down in the ocean, down there in Connecticut, is really a hidden little gem. You've got some nice beaches, beautiful little towns. So Connecticut people, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And I had to bring light to this story. And I'm going to be looking, like I said, for more stories in Connecticut so I could talk a little bit more to my listeners down in that beautiful state just south of Massachusetts. All right, now that being said, I want to talk about one more thing in Massachusetts. I don't know if you've all seen good old Ayanna Pressley. She is the representative for District 7 in the Boston area. Now, she has been out the last couple of days blasting Walgreens pharmacy, saying that they are racist because they've been pulling out of communities in Roxbury, Mattapan, and a few other rougher Boston neighborhoods. She's come out now and she called Walgreens racist because they're pulling out of Roxbury is the most recent area that they're pulling out of. Now, didn't we just do a podcast yesterday about Governor Healy is now sending hundreds of illegal aliens that have been living at Logan Airport in Boston and sending them to the recreation center in Roxbury. They are closing down this recreation center in Roxbury, which is a pillar of the community. This is a recreation center that provides an outlet for a lot of the young people in Roxbury. It gets them off the streets. It gets them into the community center. They have organizations where they have like a track team and things like that. It's free for the kids to come in. And this is a place that families in Roxbury absolutely rely on to help their families raise their children. And here is Ayanna Pressley, who is talking about Walgreens leaving Roxbury as being racist. But if you look anywhere on the internet, you will see the video of all the crimes and the robberies and the violence that have been happening at businesses in Roxbury. Now, to my friends in Roxbury, this is not a slight on you because I don't think our politicians have done you any favors in the city of Roxbury. They have let you live in a situation and in a town that has lots of crime. There are not great opportunities for education. There are not great opportunities for jobs. And it's sad that businesses like Walgreens are forced to close up shop because the city is not protecting the businesses and protecting the residents of Roxbury like they should. But now you've got Ayanna Pressley coming out and calling Walgreens, the corporation, racist. This has nothing to do with racism. This has to do with a company that's under siege in a very difficult city, and they are deciding to pick up their store and move it because they can't handle the violence, the stealing, and the different things that are happening at this particular Walgreens. So at the same time, while this communist, Ayanna Pressley, is again standing up on her soapbox shouting racism, that's the only thing that she's got in her bag of tricks. She doesn't want to talk about the fact that she did nothing to prevent the recreation center, I believe it's the Cass Recreation Center in Roxbury, from being overtaken by illegal aliens because that is what Governor Healy demanded. Governor Healy, another woke Massachusetts politician, who is, again, displacing families in Roxbury. These are American citizens, people that live in a tough town. They're struggling for money, that have a hard time making ends meet. These are real people that work hard, that do their best in life, and their government is throwing their kids out on the street so they can put illegal aliens from other countries into that recreation center. So this is literally a slap in the face to any family that lives in Roxbury. It's a slap in the face to the black people of Roxbury. I read an article that said 85% of the residents of Roxbury are black. I assume we've got Hispanic people living in Roxbury, white people living in Roxbury. This is a slap in the face to every person that lives in Roxbury. So Ayanna Pressley is up on her soapbox, with her shiny bald head, talking about how Walgreens is racist. But what is she doing for her own black people? What are you doing? You allowed the governor of Massachusetts to come into your district and destroy a pillar of the community that families rely on to help them with their children so their children don't end up on the street, so their children don't get caught up in the violence that's prevalent in the streets of Roxbury. And what do? You take that away from the families until at least June 1st. Now, I guarantee you, I'm going to check back on this story on June 1st. You mark my words. And I guarantee you, these illegals will still be staying there. And I bet you they stay there through the summer. On top of this particular location being shut down, there's hotels all over the state being shut down for illegals, all being paid for by the taxpayers. So the taxpayers are paying to help people that are illegal in this country and not helping the people that are American citizens. And real quick, I'm not sure if anyone saw the video of the black man that was yelling at the police. I believe it was in Roxbury. He was yelling and screaming about how he works 40 hours a week and he is still homeless. And if you've ever listened to my show, I don't love welfare. I don't love public assistance because I think it becomes a lifestyle for a lot of people. But for this man who works 40 hours a week and is still homeless, this man deserves help. This man needs help from the government. He should not be working 40 hours a week and living on the street. But instead of giving this man help, an American, a black man who is living in Boston, working his ass off for a better life, he's homeless, and they're providing shelter and homes for illegal aliens. And that's what he was yelling about. And sir, I wish I could meet you, shake your hand, give you a hug, buy you a hotel room for a week. I love you. I'm sorry that your government and your country has completely failed you. But that is what we are dealing with right now in Massachusetts, in Connecticut, in New England, and around the entire country of the United States of America. We need to end the wokeness. One last thing about Connecticut before I end this podcast. Love the airport. Bradley Airport is my favorite place to fly. If you're someone that flies out of Massachusetts on a regular basis, if you fly out of Logan, I mean, good airport. You could sometimes get cheaper rates out of Logan. But if you haven't flown out of Bradley Airport, small little airport, easy in and out, and honestly, it is, you can get just as many nonstop flights. The prices are pretty good. Bradley is always my first choice if I can fly out of that. And then you've got Logan, of course. But there's another airport in Connecticut that I flew out of last February. Was it February? No, it was last June. I flew out of. I had to go to Florida for a baseball tournament for my son. And we flew out of New Haven, Connecticut, and they have an airline. I can't even think of the name airline. Is it like Allegiant Air or something? But my wife booked this flight because it was really cheap. We flew out of New Haven. Phenomenal experience. The price was cheap. The airplane was great. And it was a super easy experience. So there's a lot of positives to Connecticut. Great state. And this show was basically just a thank you to all of you and all of your downloads. And listen, if you're in Connecticut, if you have a show that you want me to do, hit me up on Facebook. You can find the John DeVito Show. You can also send me an email to the John DeVito Show at gmail.com. That's TheJohnDivito at gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know some things that are happening in Connecticut, and I will do some more podcasts about the amazing state of Connecticut. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. God bless all of you. Have a great day, and we will see you soon.